I am seeing the diversity of April weather. And there are some pictures, the field is almost dry. That's really amazing because usually we can't get to the field until May 1st. And then there's pictures of wet, soggy fields. We have pictures with 2 or 3 feet of snow. And there's some pictures where there's 2 feet of water when our whole farm got flooded and Reed and Renee were canoeing around the property. So being able to see the actual diversity of what's possible is a great way to understand what goes on your farm. Welcome to episode 62 of the Seed Farmer Podcast. The podcast where I want you to harvest seeds from some of the vegetables and flowers growing in your farm or garden, and then to plant that seed out to grow delicious vegetables and beautiful flowers. If you enjoy the Seed Farmer Podcast and find it to be a good resource that helps you improve your seed work and farming, please support the show at spreadsheet.farm/support podcast. I'm your host, Dan Brisebois, seed grower at Tourne-Sol Cooperative Farm and author of The Seed Farmer, a complete guide to growing, using, and selling your own seeds. Today's minisode is all about getting ready for the season. Farm photo season, that is. But first, a little news. I'm back on the farm again. I spend most of my winter away from the farm, either in the warehouse or behind the computer, but now I'm back on the farm. In the greenhouse, we've been seeding and we've been transplanting some plants. Actually, we transplanted those Brussels sprouts I told you about last fall and some leeks into the ground. We've sown a few crops. So we're getting ready for the growing season. But what I really wanted to talk about here was when we were sowing lettuce trays a couple weeks ago. This was lettuce seed that we had harvested in the last couple of years and that we were getting ready to grow out for our next lettuce seed crop. And I was, filling up the seeder, the little hand seeder, and sowing out 2 or 3 seeds per cell. I always wanted to sow a couple so I can choose the best plant to be a seed plant in the field. And I was just looking at how clean the lettuce seed was. And it brought me such joy because I remember 20 years ago when I started harvesting lettuce seed, I could not get it clean. There were always little bits and ball things, and just in those early days, the lettuce seed, it was just so hard to get it clean. And, when you're using your own lettuce seed as a farmer, it's fine to not have it be perfect. If you're selling it, you can have a few bits in seed, but it's better to have clean seed if you can get it. Anyway, what I was looking at was the clean seed in my hand because I now knew after 20 years how to clean lettuce seed, and part of it is, we grow lettuce in tunnels, so because we're in a wet climate, and that means that growing it in tunnels, we're able to harvest seed that's at the right moment, and that's a little bit cleaner than maybe if we were harvesting in the field in a wet climate. And then also, we have the right screen size, and I've also gotten a little bit more comfortable with winnowing. We do have a winnow wizard too, which can help out, but also just I'm a little bit more aggressive with winnowing than I was in the past. And all those things combined together means that I can get lettuce seed clean. And it was just nice to have this visual testament of that journey of knowing what I'm able to do. And I share this with you because every time you clean seed, you get better and you learn. And so a couple years from now, and 10 years from now, and 20 years from now, you're just going to be so much better than you are right now. So I want to just give you those words of encouragement. And if you are on the other part of the seed journey, and you've been keeping seed for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, and maybe you've forgotten the struggle to get there, just to remember how much you've learned and what you've embodied and how much you have to share, I guess, but just to appreciate that learning that you've done. So that's just something that I was thinking about as I was sowing lettuces that we're going to grow for seed this summer. Another thing I want to share is actually an Instagram post that Roots and Shoots Farm shared on April 1st. they shared a picture of or what they claimed was one of our new varieties that we'd released and how they're excited to be sowing it. And it was across, so I'll just read the post. So we're so excited about this new sweet corn. Seed breeders at Tourne-Sol have crossed sweet corn with the marshmallow plant and have come up with a wonderful, naturally sweet corn that resembles mini marshmallows. We trialed it last year and were floored at how delicious it was. Can't wait to grow more this year. And the picture it's an ear of corn with the leaf pulled back, and it's just, instead of little ears of corn, they're mini marshmallows. And I'm guessing this was done through AI. Nonetheless, it was humorous. It's from April 1st. I mean, I don't know if that was too subtle when I said at the beginning. But if you want to see the post, there's a link in the show notes, so you can go there and realize that you can't order that seed because it's pretend. The last thing I want to mention before we start the minisode is that harvest season is coming. And I'm speaking here not specifically to seed growers, but to all market growers, because I have a harvest system design course that I recorded a couple years ago that is available on my website. Link is in the show notes, that you might find interesting. And so this is not a how to harvest course, but how to think about harvest as a whole on your farm, the different roles of harvest managers, the workflow of getting crops through your systems, and just different coordination things you need to think about, and then kind of harvest tracking type stuff. So the course is called Harvest System Design. It's about an hour and a half. It was originally filmed live. Every time I listen to it, I really enjoy it. So I think that you have a lot to learn from it. Go check it out if you're interested. And that brings us to today's minisode. I've been organizing my pictures. I have about 70,000 pictures on my computer. This is a lot of pictures of my kids, pictures of family gatherings, pictures of scenery that has moved me. But let's be honest. This is pictures of vegetables, field tools, seed tools, cleaning seeds. So I've got 70,000 pictures. That's probably mostly of the farm. Now, this is a little bit too much for my storage capacity, and this is like 20 plus years of pictures here, and I have been procrastinating dealing with them, but I'm finally taking steps to do it. So what I've been doing the last couple weeks, and I'm using Apple Photos to manage my pictures. In the upper right search bar, I'm just typing in the month and date number of today. So this episode's coming out on April 15th. So I'm going to write 15/04 in the search bar. And Photos is going to show me all the April 15th pictures across those 20 plus years of photos. And it usually winds up being about 200 pictures on this date. And then I go through them and I get to appreciate seeing them. And I see, I have 10 pictures of the same tomato. I guess I don't have 10 pictures of the same tomato right now, but maybe I have 10 pictures of the same garlic sprouting out of the ground. And I only need one, if I even need one at all. So I'm choosing the best picture of whatever stuff is there. Maybe 2 or 3 if I really want to. I'm also adding keywords as I go through, such as garlic, tomato, field walk. And I know that the AI on Photos has gotten much better, and I've been amazed what I can find just by typing into the search bar what I'm looking for. But tagging things makes it even better and more effective. So it's been a couple weeks I've been doing this. I think I've reduced by 2% my overall photo load. My hope is that by next year, the 70,000 pictures that I have currently are going to be less than 30,000. And at that point, maybe I'll do the process again and get a little bit tougher and decide how many wet springs I actually want to record. Though, I want to record them all. Anyway, this episode, I want to talk about farm pictures because they are really a great tool for you to use to promote your farm, to manage your farm, and having the right pictures makes all the difference. And now is the time. The same way it's a good time to think about harvest, it's also a good time to think about the photos you want to take. So when I run folks through a crop planning workshop, we start where you want to go at the end. And ultimately, what you want to get to is you want to harvest vegetables and work backwards. So here, we're going to plan out your photo harvest. So what do you want? Well, you want pictures, but there are different reasons you might be taking pictures. So first of all, you might take pictures for your web store. If you have an online seed store, or else you take vegetable orders or any kind of orders, it's really great to have the actual crop or item there. If you have a fantastic drawing or artistic picture, that's great. But if you're relying on pictures, a nice picture goes a long way. So that's one kind of picture that you might want to have. Thinking in terms of promotions also, you may also be wanting to have pictures and possibly videos to share on social media. And during the summer, it's easy enough to just go out to the farm and take some shots of stuff. But when you get into the fall and the winter and next spring, especially in our climate, it might not be so inspiring to just have picture after picture of snowy field. So you might want to have some shots, some nice summer shots. So that's another type of picture that you want to add to your library during this growing season. Then there's another set of photos that you might find interesting, which are visual records. And so this can be when things happen in a specific year. I'm going through my April pictures right now, and I am seeing the diversity of April weather. And there are some pictures, some of the first ones I looked at, the field is almost dry. And that's really amazing because usually we can't get to the field until May 1st. And then there's pictures of wet, soggy fields. We have pictures with 2 or 3 feet of snow. And there's some pictures where there's 2 feet of water when our whole farm got flooded and Reed and Renee were canoeing around the property. So being able to see the actual diversity of what's possible is a great way to understand what goes on your farm. And then also in terms of visual records, it's not just what your field looks like, but it might be when you have your first tomato. And I bet, if you take any pictures on your farm, you got a picture of your first cherry tomato or tomato of every year. But it can be interesting to see when that's coming out because it can give you a reference point. And then you got your photos where you have bins and bins of tomatoes coming out. And it's usually not the same day. It's a couple weeks later. So those are good reference points. You know that I do a lot of selections and choosing the crops I like and crossing things together to get new things. And so I love to take pictures of the selections that I take. And when I take pictures of the selections, I'll usually have flagging tape or a flag on me, and I'll take a Sharpie and I'll write the selection number of the crop. So it's like, I know that I had a poppy last year that was 2503, so 25 being the year, the third poppy in our breeding selections that I really, really loved. So I was holding the 2503 beside the poppies, take a picture of that so I can kind of correlate those two numbers together because I got the 2503 in a spreadsheet somewhere. So taking pictures of those selections is really great. I also take pictures of seed packs in the nursery when we're sowing out, just so that I have a record of what maybe seed lot we sowed. I'll take pictures of when we're rolling out drip tape. I might take pictures of the specs of that drip tape. Any kind of thing that has data, I'll take pictures of them. You can always delete this later on, but having it on hand means that it's in some kind of memory. Now, of course, when you get to 70,000 pictures, that memory is a little bit bloated, but it's great to have this kind of record. And then maybe you could transfer it elsewhere. So I'll transfer those lot numbers into our crop plan so I can keep track of what seed we're growing out, where it's from, and then I'll delete those pictures. Having a visual record is another reason that you might want to take pictures. And then the last reason to take pictures is documenting processes and protocols on your farm. It really helps train somebody in if you can show them what it looks like to do something. And now, if you're in the field beside them, that's really great. You can also create an SOP, a standard operating procedure that you have in a text document, and you could attach a video, but videos take a lot of space. You can also attach 2 or 3 pictures of key steps. I don't have as many seed cleaning pictures as I wish for some crops. Often it's hard to put down the tools to take the pictures if you're working alone. But if you've read the Seed Farmer book, you'll know that I have tons of pictures illustrating the steps of different seed cleaning or harvest for different crops. And if you don't know, maybe you should get that book and check it out. If you listen to this podcast, I bet you'll like it. So let me just summarize. You can use pictures for your web store. You can use pictures for socials. You can have a visual record of what happens at what time of the year, visual record of selections, visual record of information, and you can document processes. So that's what you want to do. Now's the time of year to think about what you want to take a picture of. Then you need to make a plan. And of course, we're going to do that in a spreadsheet. And you can take one column where you just write the kind of pictures that you want, one row per type of picture. Maybe you're growing out 2 or 3 new varieties of tomato for seed, and you're going to need them on your web store, so you list the 3 varieties as 3 different rows. And then you know you're going to want to have, maybe you have a CSA, a vegetable basket program, and you want to do some promotion in February to get sign-up started. So you want some pictures of your drop-off and a couple other things. You just write that stuff off. And maybe there's, some protocols that you want to record, so you write those down too. So you just list everything you want. Write more than you think you want to record. You don't have to take it all in the end, but having it down will make it easier to do. That's column 1. The next column, for each of those rows, write a date of when you think you could take that picture. And you want to have a date, not a month or some words about what time of year, but having a date, because if you put a date for all of those, you can then sort it so your list is now in order of the most recent to the most latest, and you can see what you need to take in order. And so choose a date also that is on the early side for when you might do something. So if you have those tomatoes, maybe you put it in for August 1st or August 10th that you want those tomato pictures. But just put that date in, and then you'll have a third column, which will be a checkbox that you can check off as you take the pictures, and then a fourth column for any kind of notes that you might want about those pictures. Now that you have that spreadsheet, you need to check it once a week to see what pictures you need to take in the short term. And if you have a whiteboard on your farm or a blackboard that has recurring tasks that you do regularly, you can write down, check the photo list. And you could transfer what is supposed to be happening that week in your notebook, or put a list on the whiteboard and assign someone to take those pictures, or take them yourself. But that's how you make sure it happens. And then the most important is take the pictures. And don't worry right now about organizing them. Maybe we'll have another mini-sode later this season to talk about organizing pictures. But just make sure that you take it. Having it on your device is better than not having it at all. Now that you have your list, you're ready for the growing season. And all you got to do is take those pictures and you'll be on track. And that's another mini-sode of the Seed Farmer Podcast. I'm looking forward to hearing about what kind of pictures you're planning on taking. And later this season, we'll do a follow-up episode and talk about organizing all those pictures. Thank you to Sophia Sidalton for the theme music. You can hear more of their music at sophiasidalton.com. Thank you to Molly Brisebois for editing this episode. And thank you so much for listening. You can find more seed growing resources on my blog at seedgrowers.farm. While you're there, you can subscribe to my newsletter full of seed growing, crop planning, and farm spreadsheets. You can also find out where to order a copy of my book, The Seed Farmer, a complete guide to growing, using, and selling your own seed. And you can support the podcast at spreadsheet.farm/supportpodcast, or follow the link in the show notes. If you haven't already subscribed to the podcast, now's the time. You wouldn't want to miss the next episode. Until then, happy farming.